After Sasuke had completely transcended his previous tier of fighter that could completely dominate the stated strongest fighters in the world and in becoming the second shinobi in all of history to obtain the EMS, it makes one wonder if he could truly take on his brother, Itachi, who also achieved power beyond the Mangekyo. Well, today, let's find out. Shooting for 20k, let's go. It must first be established where Itachi stands in terms of power, and that we may also know if this fight is even worth discussing, where I think you'll find it's very much a conversation worth having. Itachi, while seeking to become a shinobi among shinobi and the strongest fighter in the entire world, eventually surpassed not just the entire Uchiha clan, matching Shisui in combat to some degree, with this same Shisui actually being a fighter who was thought to be a natural promise of replacement for the loss of the legendary Sannin and 4th Hokage, with that Shisui possibly being a perception blitz level above the same Danzo who would go on to completely perceive and combat the aforementioned Kage Summit Sasuke, depending on how you view his right-hand tiger sign. But also, Itachi was able to finally stand toe-to-toe with a man who became the mental benchmark for the strongest shinobi, who previously, while adorned in all black, could completely genjutsu wipe the entire daimyo squad, with Itachi being one of 2 bystanders who resisted it, with the other, Tenma, getting brutally mangled so much that Itachi was paralyzed by the man's aura, where now he could cut through such aura with a forcefulness that prompted Masked Man to even acknowledge Itachi as a worthy opponent. This also being the same Masked Man who would go on to threaten and even briefly exchange with a much later Kabuto, which shouldn't sound surprising as he was literally standing at the peak of the strongest clan and organization in the strongest village in the world, possibly implying that this young Itachi is likely already of a level comparable to Kage Summit Sasuke, but would then go on to slaughter the entire Uchiha clan, his family. And while Sasuke, through the understanding of Itachi's torment, soared in power throughout the Kage Summit alone, with just some of his amps being ones that made him completely unrecognizable, these same amplifiers should also be applied to Itachi. For Sasuke, his darkness was merely the shadow of what Itachi actually went through on that night. And we actually know that he also awakened his Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu therein, which means his Susanoo would have also had to awaken and likely fully evolved, unless you think he is, for whatever reason, training during his Akatsuki undercover operation, which is actually counterintuitive to his goal of dying in a convincing fight against Sasuke, which he did, literally kicking off a Chidori Sasuke and counterattacking so hard that he was forced into a partial curse mark state, this also being the same Sasuke capable of taking away the breath of even other Akatsuki members and possibly being able to just destroy ones like the Kazekage murdering sorcery. Regardless, this would still imply that Itachi possibly then got unreasonably more powerful from when he rivaled Shisui and possibly even Obito himself, hence to why he could one-shot Sannin, said to make shinobi of all nations tremble and stand beyond any Kage, using just his 3 Tomoe base Sharingan, with that later Orochimaru actually being seen as a worrying threat to the last Sasuke he had seen during the summit by Suigetsu, and Itachi, while literally blind in both eyes and bleeding out, could one-shot the same Hydra who was stated in Databook 3 to be a dragon god, having surpassed even Orochimaru, which would obviously apply to that reference one as well. So could Itachi actually stand up to his EMS brother through just his lore alone? Probably, but as you'll all know, Itachi fights alongside his brother much later, forcing us into answering just how does Itachi differ as an Edo Tensei. Well, it's firstly highly crucial to note that while yes, Edo Itachi clearly shows more impressive showings for his physicals, this isn't actually an argument to suggest that a live Itachi can't scale to it, as it presupposes some known limit for a live Itachi, which just isn't the case. The Edo Tensei furthermore also resurrects the character back from the exact state at which the DNA for the Edo Tensei was gathered. For example, Hiruzen was revived from his old man state, which, judging by the wrinkles, a consistent concept for measuring his age, would have been closer to Part 1, the Uchiha Massacre, despite the negative attributes which are assumed with it, such as age as a whole. And even Nagato is actually a better example, as he was brought back completely crippled, relying on Itachi to even walk, which also serves as a refutation to the common point of Kabuto supposedly modifying Itachi's body beyond what it ever was, as Kabuto views Nagato as a higher level dojutsu than Itachi, and yet lets him be entirely crippled while supposedly amplifying Itachi beyond his normal level, despite him not even having basic knowledge of Itachi's ability and the pinpoint sensory. meaning that Itachi at some ambiguous point throughout his life is actually slightly above his Edo Tensei state in output, but would be probably an inferior fighter due to the Edo Tensei Itachi version being able to actually wield his Edo body pretty effectively, allowing himself to get hit and whatnot. Where now, what we know is that both he and EMS Sasuke are above a Kage Summit Sasuke and those tiers of fighters by some degree, and we know that Data Book 4 remarks that Itachi's transplanted eyes lit an eternal light within Mangekyo Sharingan and granted Sasuke ninjutsu and genjutsu, surpassing even his elder brother. And while this may sound crazy, this is actually highly consistent if you point out a few other statements and moments from their battle with Kabuto. The first thing to note is Sasuke is stated to have the greatest offensive ocular ability in the Amaterasu, also having used it in a spraying fashion, although Itachi, contrary to popular belief, does this exact same thing, showing pretty comparably, a level of usage for the Amaterasu, even whenever he's like death-ridden and sick, except Sasuke can actually manipulate it a bit further by turning it into spikes and shields and covering other offensive attacks like the Susanoo arrow through his Enton Kagetsuchi. He can also further improve how his stamina is actually relevant by using one base Amaterasu on the Susanoo and then using the less draining Enton to wisp it out at the opponent, which he can do far more effectively than previously in the summit. Concerning Genjutsu, Sasuke's base Sharingan could actually match Itachi's Tsukiyomi, so for ninjutsu and Genjutsu, this would actually be pretty consistent, with the only real contentious things being something like the Susanoo, and this does get quite contentious, as we know that Itachi stayed in Fanbook 2 to have the ultimate absolute defense, which includes Sasuke's Summit Susanoo, which boasted a defense exceeding Gar's absolute defense. As you'll notice, this is a category term for certain abilities, such as Neji's rotation as well. However, once Sasuke gets the EMS, a guidebook for Road to Ninja that was released as a promotional piece for the Road to Ninja movie alongside Volume 63 states that Sasuke has now the ultimate absolute defense, which likely would mean that both Susanoos are highly comparable, if not nigh equals. Itachi's Susanoo is stated to be something that is beyond the power of the Mangekyo in Data Book 3, possibly also supporting this EMS level Susanoo, and even if you give an edge to Sasuke's, Itachi still has these spirit weapons, which are above the same attacks he was using to combo attack with Sasuke in the opening of this fight, and it also could be said that these spirit weapons are excluded from the Susanoo in terms of when guidebooks and stuff are actually talking about it. And what I just previously mentioned is actually a common theme, being that while Sasuke may have some aspects of his arsenal that outright surpass Itachi, he isn't eclipsing most of Itachi's key aspects, being his speed and Susanoo abilities and his mythical spirit weapons, which is why they are so relative in this fight, despite Data Book 4's remarks. With the two brothers demonstrating a now reunited chemistry from their childhood where they can up their Susanoos at the same time, and even combo attack together for the same strategy and planning, with the two even moving exactly on par when the two genjutsu one another to slice the restraints off each other. Itachi could also clone feint and slice the horn off the same character who could defensively react to even Sasuke's Susanoo arrow, which is far faster than himself. Itachi could clash with Kabuto in close quarters taijutsu through the use of Sasuke's sword again. Itachi is also able to react equally and combo his Amaterasu with Sasuke's. The two react evenly to Kabuto's Bracken Dance, and even the two both use their Susanoos at the exact same time to then mitigate the surrounding jutsu in the same time frame, with Sasuke having to use his Enton to match Itachi's raw Susanoo movement. And even for the instances where Itachi gets caught, like within the inorganic animation jutsu, Itachi is still reacting to set attack arguably better than a 3 Tomoe Sasuke, but choosing to utilize his Edo Tensei body for what it is, while also saving Sasuke, which should also allude to the notion that both characters are going to be above a lower variant of the other. So, in MS, Itachi is above a 3 Tomoe Sasuke, and a EMS Sasuke is above a 3 Tomoe Itachi. Duh. So for this fight, comparably, here's how I'd actually view these stat categories of relevance, being that I think Sasuke has the edge in Amaterasu and fire-based ninjutsu, genjutsu, and possibly Susanoo variants up until the version 4 complete Susanoo and stamina, whereas Itachi should take an advantage in speed, higher in techniques like the spirit weapons, and overall combative intellect and initiative, which is something also gathered pretty firmly throughout the Kabuto fight, meaning that with everything between the two being so close, how do I actually think things would go? Well, if you are of the opinion that Sasuke can grow in this EMS state, and such growth basically mitigates our cutoff point of the discussion being basically like the Kabuto fight version of Sasuke, then Sasuke just hence wins, and any later form of him would just absolutely dominate Itachi, and it's not that close. However, if that isn't in play, then I think Itachi has several ways to work around most of Sasuke's abilities in things like his genjutsu and ninjutsu, whether it's his fire style or the Inton Kagetsuchi, through his version for Susanoo, and here's why. If we assume the two are highly relative and Itachi is also better at testing abilities through clones and is more prone to doing so, his Yadamir becomes basically an impossible variable to Sasuke for him to actually be able to get around. The Yadamir is described in Data Book 3 to be that which gives Itachi the perfect defense. Not because it's just strong, but because it can completely manipulate and alter every single one of its properties in accordance with the attributes of the oncoming attack. It's like literally redefining itself to then match and null the given attack. Hence why this and the Totsuka Blade aren't even material weapons, but they're instead ethereal, spiritual weapons, possibly gifted to Itachi from the heavens above, which I'll go over in this next video, which you should be on the lookout for. But essentially, any Susanoo arrow, Enton-based attack, or fire style would be mitigated, and the Totsuka Blade is a pretty easy win con for a similar reason in that it's literally non-physical, and could possibly even go straight through the Susanoo, as we know that the weapon itself does ignore physical objects in the way of that which it is trying to seal, which is pierced and is only sealed after Orochimaru was completely gone, despite the roof of its mouth and tongue being hit at the same time, and the reason they aren't sealed is likely due to a targeting aspect of the ability, which is also prevalent with like the Amaterasu, for example, in that it relies on a targeting mechanism, as to why it doesn't burn the trees or the Raikage's arm entirely, with Itachi also possibly stabbing through the smoke against Nagato. So while it is debatable, are we really going to say that Itachi couldn't find a way to put a hole in Sasuke's Susanoo either? I mean, I doubt it, as a greatly inferior fighter, proportionally speaking, Danzo could do it so long as he had the proper distractions. So now, if you don't think this, then perhaps Sasuke could also out-stamina Itachi, as much as I hate the argument for the fact that his stamina is actually really good, especially if he isn't on his deathbed, where he could literally hold up his Susanoo basically till the moment he collapses and dies. So I would actually give this fight to a prime Itachi like 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10 times. But what did you guys think? Do you think that Sasuke may have just actually dominated this fight? I'm missing something? Well, either way, make sure to like and hype this video up so more people can see it, and subscribe if you enjoyed, as also I don't want you to miss my magnum opus narrative analysis for Itachi coming out right after this. But more importantly, may God bless you all. Love you guys.